New day and new stories with Ocean Story. I grew up with my brother Axel and sister Delilah. Axel is the oldest, he is 2 years older. I am the middle boy in the family. My sister Delilah is 3 years younger than me when we were younger. Everyone was crazy about Delilah because he was charismatic. He was very kind and funny. My mom always held him up as an example to all the guests. My dad was thrilled to have such a wonderful eldest son. Delilah easily gained recognition in college. I understood some of the principles he used, so it was not difficult for me to imitate my brother. When I entered my first year of college, teachers often confused me and my brother. For a while, I liked the attention from people, but then I realized I was losing my own identity. After all, I had practically become my brother Delilah. A lot of girls were hitting on me, but I didn't want to become a toy for everyone, so I stopped acting like Delilah. My brother was only thinking about girls. Nothing bothered him more than them. He didn't worry about his studies either. The girls were ready to do all the work for him. If only Delilah would spend the night with them. So I didn't want that for myself. I even chose different styles of clothes, so I wouldn't look like my brother. I am disgusted to think about it, that I tried to be like my brother Delilah. After graduating from college, I went to work. Then I got married. Now I'm in my 6th year of marvelous married life. My younger sister is single and works as a realtor. My older brother Axel, he was in a free relationship for a long time. He changed girls almost every week, which is really disgusting to me. But everything changed that year for Axel. It was like he became more mature or smarter. I think his new job had an impact on him. Axel started dating a girl named Ariana. A few words about Ariana. This girl is amazing. She is very similar to my brother Axel. Really in a good way. She's very pleasant to talk to. Axel found a very smart girl. Ariana knows a lot of historical topics and is interested in stars. She has a sense of humor as good as I do. She's a sporty girl and has a good job. Ariana is a private running instructor. She also loves soccer. Simply put, she's like a perfect person. It is easy to understand that our whole family fell in love with this girl. My sister became her best friend. My mom couldn't get overjoyed that my brother would have a responsible girlfriend and wife. 8 months later, my brother Axel asked Ariana to be his wife. My sister Delilah almost went crazy with joy. 4 days ago, my brother called me for breakfast. I was surprised by this. After all, Axel had never invited me to breakfast before, so I started thinking two things. Either something bad happened or something good happened. We used to have coffee at breakfast. After the first sip of coffee, my brother Axel, he let out a man's tear. Our whole nice environment became gray and unpleasant. I tensed up considerably and was ready to hear anything. So my brother started talking that his fiancée Ariana was most likely. She started cheating on him. I asked if he was really sure. His answer was not very precise, but it was clear that he was upset. Only then life started to change for Axel. But then such a big trouble came. Axel said that he and Ariana broke up, but he hadn't told anyone about it yet. A little later, his brother told him that his fiancée had been brought home by some guy from training. Ariana said it was just a satisfied customer. It was on his way, so he drove her straight home. Another time, Axel was coming home from work. He saw the same car. Axel decided to wait outside. He sat in a neighboring yard for about an hour when the guy came out of the house, and Ariana closed the door behind him. At the same time, she was looking out so that no one would see it. The man's zipper was halfway down, so my brother knew for sure that Ariana had betrayed him. He no longer wanted to live and be with her. Axel didn't make a big deal about it. He just took his things and went to the nearest hotel. Sometimes he comes to spend the night with us. I support my brother as much as I can. It is very difficult to go through something like this on your own. Ariana's parents call my brother several times a day. They don't know what happened between Ariana and Axel. And Ariana herself doesn't even know that my brother Axel knows everything about her affair. That's why she tries to contact my brother from time to time. My wife and I allowed Axel to stay with us for a while. After all, he needs to save up some money. But in general, Axel needs to come to his senses. A couple of days ago, I talked to my cousin. We are in good contact. We go fishing once a month, so we like to talk together. He asked me about Axel. I told him everything. I know, it was not very nice of me. My cousin said that he immediately suspected something about that girl. She couldn't be that perfect. I replied that I did not believe him. We started arguing about it. I didn't understand how she could be so cool. She could do such a bad thing to Axel. My cousin said it was very simple. She wanted a lot of male attention, so she found another backup boyfriend. We talked about it for over an hour. We picked every bone we could. My cousin was not happy with our conversation. I don't like his point of view, so my brother Axel lost the girl of his dreams, and I had a fight with my friend. I hope that Goat never finds anyone and die old and lonely. Because of her betrayal, Ariana deserves it all. Although, I'm guessing that my brother could have made a mistake, but it's too late now. Parker, your cousin is very wrong in what he says. She is much worse than he thinks, and you are wrong with your assumptions. Your brother is going through a bad time. That's why you should take care of him. I know how it is, how hard it is to go through a divorce from a loved one. But after a betrayal, the roof can be blown off. Vivian, I'm very interested. Why didn't Axel talk to Ariana and just leave? Maybe he really misunderstood the whole situation, and now he's dumped his fiancée, thinking that she betrayed him. But in reality, Axel couldn't be 100% sure, because he hadn't talked to Ariana. I wonder how Axel would have had that conversation. Then their relationship could have been saved. Caden, you really think so? That a girl who is in love with your brother Axel could have betrayed him? I can understand how it would happen in the first months of dating. But this situation arose after that, when Ariana was preparing to become Axel's wife. It's hard for me to believe in such a course of events. Kaylee, a friend of mine, had a similar situation. His girlfriend called the plumber 3 times a week because the whole water supply was breaking down. But she didn't want to upset her husband, so she didn't tell him about these breakdowns. After all, he had already fixed everything. But it didn't work. When her friend's husband saw this guy, he almost beat him up. But then he found out everything, and their marriage didn't break up. So with Axel's case, there may be something similar. Miles, I hope your cousin doesn't tell everyone about your conversation about your brother, because if Axel finds out about it, he'll definitely be upset with you. After all, you let yourself go to discuss his life behind his back. It's better to stop talking and pay attention to your family. Sophie, I don't understand the situation. From Axel's point of view, his fiancée is to blame. But on Ariana's part, nothing is clear, because her boyfriend just left her, and he didn't even try to find out anything. Axel just drew his own conclusions and started acting. I feel sorry for Ariana, because she is worried about him, but Axel himself just doesn't care about her feelings. As long as his feelings are hurt, grown-ups, first of all, have conversations, and then they make decisions. I want to tell you the following story. 2 years ago, I had an unfortunate experience. After breaking up with my boyfriend, I moved away. My uncle invited me to stay with him. I gladly accepted his invitation. I stayed with him for 3 months. One day, Uncle Sawyer had to go to his son's house. The trip lasted 2 weeks, so Sawyer trusted me to stay at his house and to take care of everything. On the 4th day, my uncle was gone. I invited a small group of friends to the house. We had a small party, during which a painting that my uncle valued was damaged. But that was not the worst of it. Sawyer had an old motorcycle in his garage. I don't remember anything about that evening. I only have partial memories that I drove my drunk friend home. When I got home, I parked my cheap moped and went to bed. When my Uncle Sawyer came home with souvenirs, he was upset that his painting was damaged. I tried to repair it, but it didn't work. He asked me if my motorcycle was okay. Of course, I said. We went to the garage, but my uncle's motorcycle was not there. Sawyer just went crazy and started asking, "Is this a stupid joke?" For my uncle, the motorcycle was a memory of his youth and the mother. Next story. I met a wonderful girl when I was 27. Her name is Eliana, and she is a little younger than me. I have my own business, which has brought me a considerable amount of money. My company makes expensive clothes. Therefore, at my young age, I have millions in my account. In addition to that, I am investing in stocks. Also this year, I started investing in cryptocurrencies. My wife Eliana comes from a modest family. I won't say she is poor, but her income per month is not high. I wanted to help her with her finances, so I helped her pay off her parents' mortgage debt, for which the whole Eliana family was grateful to me. I don't worry much about money, so it was not difficult for me to part with it. Especially if the money goes to benefit people. I made an agreement with my wife Eliana. I agreed to give her a certain amount of money to manage. I was curious what she would do with it, so we created a contract with a notary for financing. I also have 2 sisters that I take care of. I have already divided the money I have between them. I plan to give the rest to everyone who needs money. My wife Eliana works as an assistant director at my company. We keep a joint budget. Despite my wealth, family values, such as a joint budget, was passed down from my father. It is important to me that my wife is a person. She doesn't just pump money out of me. She can bring something of her own to this world. And even though she is married, she can be independent. My wife and I had unequal wealth. I take 1 or 2% of the profit per month. I'm interested in having more money, not to spend it mindlessly. My wife has a salary of $8,000, but that's without bonuses and separate rewards for good performance. My wife is always surprised. How did I manage to build such a company and to have such a good income? But not everything is as smooth as it seems. It was a difficult time in the market, and all my investments fell by 80%, and my investments in crypto assets reached minus 87%. And it really stressed me out, even though I had a large amount in my bank account. But it was not pleasant to see that my $30 million was gone, turned into $6,013,000. I consulted with my friends and they did not give me positive feedback about the growth of my assets, so the whole situation drove me to a kind of despair. My wife Eliana was not involved in investing in digital assets. The money I gave her was all mine. She used it to open her own advertising agency. I tried to tell her to invest in stocks or cryptocurrency. It's a very profitable business, but Eliana kept saying it was not for her. One day, I was sitting at my desk. My wife Eliana came into the room. She noticed my sad look, so she asked me what was wrong with me. I told her that my assets had dropped a lot, and I have no idea if they will recover. I knew for sure that everything had to stabilize, and there would be no such losses, but I was still stressed. My wife Eliana listened to the story. She made this expression on her face. It was like my mom, who was right but didn't want to say it. Something like, "I told you so." Eliana said it was very unpleasant. She took her water bottle and went for a run. Eliana's words were painful for me. I sincerely told her what was happening to me, and she was like, "Oh well, that's bad, but it doesn't concern me, so I'm going to go on doing my own thing." So when Eliana came back, I told her that she had done worse than a mindless robot. After all, her reaction was not sympathetic, and I needed support now more than ever. However, her words of support were as follows. "Darling, you still have about 40 million in your account. You should not think about this money. There is a company that is making a profit." At least she said that. It came out of her mouth. It was as if I had made Eliana feel sorry for me. Or maybe I was going overboard with my stress. And my wife is really worried about me. Ezekiel, your wife said those words because she had to say them to you, not because she really felt this loss. After all, Eliana, she didn't lose her own money, so she doesn't really care about your loss of assets. I would sympathize more with my friend. If he had lost a nickel, then your wife would with you when you've practically lost that much money. Next story about, I have been married to Alexa for 4 years. We don't have children, but we really wanted to. Instead of children, we each have friends and family. An interesting incident happened that week for me. Once a week, we invite our friends over for dinner, this time to our house with my wife. Her friend from when they were in college came over. We sat and talked about various topics. Then we decided to go for a walk to the local park. There we were looking at trees that were hundreds of years old. Suddenly, I got a call from work. I was behind my wife Alexa and her friend Jameson. After about 10 minutes, I got off the phone, and I started looking for where they went. When I found them, Jameson and my wife Alexa were sitting on a bench, very close to each other. In just 1 second, Jameson put his head on my wife's shoulder, and she started stroking his head. I did not understand what happened between them. I quickly went over and started to find out what was going on there. It turned out that Jameson's parrot died yesterday. He had had it for more than 3 years. I asked my wife to stop petting this guy. After all, he wrapped his arms around her waist with his own hands. Alexa said that everything was fine. Her words did not satisfy me at all. So I said my words again. She said that what we need now is support for Jameson. Of course he needs support, but not in the way this guy does. He hugged her around the waist, put his head on her shoulder. I said, Alexa said that I am overreacting, and we should close this topic now. But I had no intention of stopping. Not until Jameson got away from my wife. My wife also started to get annoyed. She told me to shut up immediately or go to the pond. To cool down and come to my senses. After all, I don't feel how difficult this moment is. I replied that it is possible to support a person, and without unnecessary touching. Our argument had no end. Alexa had its own arguments, but I didn't accept them because they were absurd, and she didn't hear me. Eventually, her friend Jameson left us, and my wife was angry with me because I had ruined such a tragic moment, and instead of support, Jameson got a new portion of heartache. Alexa replied that what I did was very unfriendly because this is her friend whom she knows better than she knows me at all. But for me, it's strange that Alexa allowed Jameson to take her by the waist and put her head on his shoulder, because for my woman, this behavior is not appropriate. For me, it's almost a betrayal. So after the quarrel, my wife had no desire to talk to me at all. When we went to bed, Alexa spoke that what I did in the afternoon would be difficult for her to forgive. Not to mention her friend Jameson. I didn't get along very well with Jameson, that's for sure. But what he did crossed the line. Jameson and my wife have been friends for about 10 years. That's really quite a lot, but even that long a friendship doesn't give you the right to hang on to my wife. The problem is that my wife can often say that her friend Jameson more kind than me, or Jameson is more intelligent. This really annoys me, and in fact, any presence of Jameson annoyed me. I had to pretend to be happy to see him. I endured all this for Alexa. Josephine, you are a great man who is really scared because he doesn't know what he's doing. You did something very immoral to your wife's friend. Put yourself in his shoes. Alexa is probably the only person who can understand him. That's why he might have been emotional, and he did what he did. Jameson's parrot died, and the topic of pets is very painful for many people. That's why you treated him like a jerk who only cares about his own safety. And then you started to condemn Jameson and Alexa for their actions. Instead of empathizing with them, you started yelling and throwing a tantrum. I'm sure you would have if a girl had her head on her shoulder. You wouldn't have said a word at that moment. So it was you and not even Jameson himself. You're afraid of losing the competition to him. Leonardo, your wife Alexa is a very good friend. She was willing to listen to her friend's pain and suffering. But by doing so, they strengthened their relationship. And you're a little bit losing the competition to this guy. Jameson came to your house that day on purpose. Because of his mourning, he could have refused. So he comes to your house, and he's just waiting for his moment to cry. And it's no surprise that Jameson found that moment. In my opinion, Alexa did something a little bit wrong. She could have allowed herself to stroke his head, but she should have given him permission to take her around the waist. This is a clear overreach and a violation of the boundary. Only married couples do that, not friends. It wasn't just a petting. It was definitely something more. Emery, if I suffered a loss like Jameson, I definitely wouldn't go to my friends' houses, looking for someone to take pity on me in such a situation. So your point may well be true. You shouldn't think that you are wrong. Maybe you shouldn't have quarreled in front of Jameson and then talked to your wife at home. But in any case, this situation, you can't forget and you can't forgive. Alexa can be a friend to Jameson, but without touching her too much. Bryson, this is strange for me, because I would be in that guy's shoes. My stress went through the roof. After all, I just came to tell my friend about the grief. If you didn't like what your wife did, then talk to her calmly. You don't have to shout at the whole park. You don't want everyone around to see your performance. In the end, your wife should know her own limits. She's not 17 years old. So Alexa knows what is acceptable. You should show more trust in your wife. If you're just jealous of her, then just admit it to Alexa. Maybe then she won't behave like that with Jameson. My next story. I am a father to my son, who is turning 18. My son Noah has been doing well in school these years, so I decided to give him a car. Also, my girlfriend lives with me. She has a son, William, who is a little younger than my son. My girlfriend planned to make a gift for her son William, because her son was going to get married in 2 months. My girlfriend Olivia had not given her son a gift for several years. Her goal was to save enough money for a nice gift. Olivia had worked for a long time at a job that paid little. That's why it took her so long to save up. For my son Noah, I looked at a nice Mustang. It was a 2018-year-old car. It wasn't too old for my son to drive. I work a good job, so I could afford it. A month before my girlfriend Olivia, planning to give her son a gift, she came to me and asked for $6,000. She had saved a considerable amount, but still, it was not enough, because we hadn't been together for a long time. So I could not agree to such a sum. The maximum I could give was $1,000. The time came for my son Noah's birthday. He was very happy when I drove his new car. Right through the door during the celebration, all his friends started screaming with joy. After all, none of his friends had a car even close to this one. 1 month after that, my girlfriend Olivia was making a gift for her son William. William was very upset because he was expecting to get a Mercedes made in 2014, and he got a motorcycle for $3,000. My girlfriend decided to give him the motorcycle because they didn't have enough money to buy their son's dream car, and she decided to save the rest of the money for her son's wedding. After Olivia made a gift to her son, she was very angry with me because I could have helped her realize William's dream. She had one argument: I earn a good amount of money. Therefore, I was able to help once, but I decided to ignore her request. Olivia sat in the kitchen in tears. I could not find a place to sit. Why didn't I give her the money? My plans were to go to a resort next summer, so I wanted to save this money for the future. And $6,000 is a lot of money, really. However, Olivia was not happy about it. She said, I was only thinking about myself when I have the opportunity to help others. James, if you provided for your children separately, then I don't understand why Olivia was so upset. You had no obligation to help her son William. Was it the right choice on your part? I'm not sure, but you had the right to make that choice because she's not even your wife. Isabella, I am completely on your side. You don't owe anyone your money, especially if this woman is just a girl to you. She is not your wife who has the right to ask for money. You're not a magician who can give money at will, so don't fall for her manipulations. Olivia wants to make you feel guilty. Ava, dude, you were not right in this situation. I think this girl would like to be your wife, but after you turned her down, Olivia's desire has clearly become less. Couldn't you have donated money once in your life? She didn't ask for it on the basis that she would never pay it back. Olivia eventually returned the money to you, and you would have the money to plan your vacation again, but you chose to ruin someone else's dream. What a shame for you. Oliver, why is your girlfriend Olivia offended? As if you gave her an explanation about your money, like you're trying to use it to go on vacation, and you get claims and insults in return. It doesn't seem fair. Of course, it may be offensive to William that he rides a motorcycle when he has a half-brother who drives a Mustang. Sophia, I think you should talk to Olivia again without all the accusations and insults. Perhaps she doesn't fully understand her situation. When you become a couple, then she can afford to behave like this. But before that, it's not nice of her.